Thanks everyone for coming. It's a full house, although there's a couple of seats free, so people might scramble in. My name is Bill Mousoulis, and together with Chris Luscri, who's not here tonight, we run this series of screenings called Unknown Pleasures. With Unknown Pleasures, we basically try to screen alternative Australian films, independent films, ones that are a bit neglected or maybe even haven't had a screening at all. And so, yeah, we're really happy to do that, and we thank the cinema for allowing us to put these screenings on. And I'd also like to thank the traditional owners of this land for allowing us to live, work and play here after 250 years of abuse against them. So my respects to the Wurundjeri elders and my love and solidarity with all Indigenous people. So I know what you're here for, of course. It's a film by Carmen-Sibha Keiso, and it's programmed actually by Digby Houghton, who is normally me and Chris have done the programming the last few years, but now we're bringing in different people to program films and find us films that I'm not aware of, and Digby has programmed this film. We'll have a Q&A at the end with Digby and Carmen, and Digby, could you come up, and Carmen too? You can say a few introductory words.
Well, first of all, none of you are interested in the federal budget, clearly, or the samurai at Lido, so thanks for coming. Carmen's been a friend since I was 12, so 15 years. We hung out on the internet and face-to-face a lot when I was coming of age. Her Tumblr Camel's Urine was like a real source of inspiration for me, often pushing the boundaries of like conceptual art and aesthetics. I think this film is important and people should watch it. And I'll let Sibha speak.
There's a lot of talking in the film. It's basically a film that's trying to explain itself, so there's absolutely no point in me trying to explain it to you. But my family friend Tamara, who's present here today, just gave me like a big spiel about the redundancy of critical theory. So I feel like that's a really funny note for me to start on, and then I apologized to her afterwards saying, I'm sorry you're about to watch a 20-year-old try to engage with critical theory. So I extend that apology to the audience tonight. I hope it's funny. I think it's a funny film, so hopefully you think it's funny too. But it made a friend of mine cry once. So we'll leave it on that note. What do you think, Bill? Thank you for coming, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So this is Digby Houghton, and Carmen will be here in a second. And for me, this film is like so refreshing to see that it got made. I know that you can have kind of thesis films at university, this kind of thing, but it's still something really wonderful to present to an audience too, I think. And the essay film, this kind of mode is a very European thing and doesn't get made much in Australia, so I'm really pleased about it. Do you want to say something, Digby? Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm waiting for Carmen.
What was your reaction when you first saw the film? You knew about the making of it and you were in it, the last big scene.
Yeah, well, like, to get a little personal, I was kind of recovering from some sort of mental health stuff in 2018 when Carmen was doing her honours thesis, and she sort of interviewed me around topics involving sexual intimacy that were arguably exploitative at the time.
That was the year
That was
before.
2017. But then in 2018, I was recovering, and so I had a lot of time on my hands and would often be hanging out in the studios. And yeah, Carmen, like, I think actually my fondest memory is the final shot is just amazing, because I remember the day I came in, I remember Carmen had like a pile of clothes like up to here and like shoes spread out, and you had to sign all these stat decks to be in the film, and she just had this camera. And I think it's only retroactively, since I've tried to make movies myself, that I've only understood how much stress and pressure she must have been under for that, not just that shot, but every shot in terms of coordinating friends. And these aren't just like acquaintances, these are like, you know, I meant we should sort of pay respect to people like Jade and Leon and Joey, who is no longer with us. Leon and Joey, who are credited as audio and camera techs. And I suppose this could be my first question, which is that both the film itself and the production itself kind of lends itself to like a sense of utilitarianism. I wondered if that was ever concerted, or is it just part of who you are, that you're kind of, even when you go over to your house and you have a tea or you cook a nice dinner, or there's a sort of, do you think just using what you have is a part of who you are, or is it more concerted with the production of this film?
I mean, I think it's like, not only is that kind of circumstantial, but circumstantial to like being a student, but you know, if you don't have, a friend in the US said something once. She said that like asking people, having the ability to ask people for help is like a really good like survival tool. And maybe she was speaking about like people who maybe like grew up in poverty or lower socioeconomic environments, and that learning to have that skill is maybe that's just what inherently turns it into a utilitarian like playing field. But I mean, you know, the reason I haven't made anything else since then is because I refuse to use people's free labor now. Or, you know, kind of like you create the standard for yourself where you're like, oh, I'm at this XYZ stage of my whatever, like a creative career or whatever. And maybe it's a stubbornness that has maybe more to do with funding than anything else. But you gotta do it. You gotta help people out and then they help you out, that kind of thing. I mean, there was a lot of, I didn't have to convince people too much with this one. Sometimes other projects you kind of have to, there's a little coercion that has to happen.
Yeah, I'm also just thinking of the video art you've been making like before you existed, and the work with liquid architecture, and your work on Road Trip to LA that perhaps don't need a crew. Could you maybe speak about how maybe your evolution since Love and Fascism with those works, or? Yeah,
I mean, that's also like in part like a kind of like COVID contingency or something. COVID like contingency, like you can't like pose, like you couldn't really ask anyone to help you for like 2 fucking years. Which sucked for me because I was like, I had funding to like make a film, and I was like casting people overseas. And I was like, I was gonna pay people like $50, but like, I don't think you can. I was gonna film this thing in a park, and I was just gonna hand people who were sitting on the park benches $50 and ask them if they'd want to just keep doing what they were doing, like don't move and don't look at the camera. But yeah, that didn't happen. I would like that to happen, but yeah, it's kind of it feels like a failure. Not that I'm at any kind of like an end of my lifespan or anything, but like that kind of compromise. I guess maybe what you're talking about is like a compromise, like a structural compromise or something. Like, for example, with the PN88 Lassitude film, which is just a like road trip snapshot. I'm just filming what's outside the window, and then in the editing process, I can like retroactively strew together some kind of narrative, falsified narrative, but also the soundtrack by Lawrence English really carries that. It's a different, that's not theatre though, you know, that's video art.
Yeah, it's kind of different.
This is like theatre film thing.
Yeah, and the kind of spectre of like people like Derrida loom amongst many others that I don't even know theorist-wise. But there's a great shot in the middle of the film, the only kind of handheld shot of where the camera gazes at your eye. And you mentioned that Derrida once said film is an archive machine. I understand that you are returning to New York to kind of help your deceased mentor Phil with his archive. I wondered if your interest in archive, did they begin with all those Facebook albums, do you think? Or was this like...
I think it's just, you know, so it's a good example, like working for EIF, I was just there and I was kind of hanging out, and you basically see a bunch of like elderly people walking around a dusty loft and you ask them if they need help. And that's basically what happened. And then I was just filming their little concerts because they found a job for me. They were like, what do you do? Do you make music? Do you make movies? Do you make that? I was like, oh, I like cameras. And they were like, great, you can film the show. So I literally just pressed record on a Sony that was already set up on a tripod in the corner while like a bunch of like really great musicians like did improv in front of it. And then lockdown happened, of course, but they seemed to like me and they wanted to keep me around. And so they asked me if I was any good at organizing digital files. Lo and behold, I would say our entire generation's pretty damn good at that. I'm just the youngest person that ever asked them if they needed help. I mean, it helped. What helped in that instance was that I already, like, due to like our hobbies or whatever, like I already knew everything about all the musicians in their catalog, you know.
I still remember on one of our many walks, we passed a traffic sign that said Refuge Island, and you said that was like an allegory for Australia, that like everyone's kind of, other than Indigenous people, I suppose, is like a refuge here. But you also quote in the film the line, what it means to live as a heartbroken Arab on an island.
I don't know if I can extrapolate on that.
Should I?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're like a Suki Lala 21-year-old who's like being in there, you know, little existential brag and nothing else to do but sit down at my desk, you know, feel sorry for myself. Yeah, we're on an island. I didn't ask to come here, you know what I mean? And I can't go back to the Middle East. Yeah, that's my little fuck up of a life. But you know, it's a good island, you know. Is that what you want me to say?
I don't know what I wanted you to say. I actually did really want the audience to know more about Camille and Matthew and who they are and how you found them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're the narrators.
Camille, I don't know, Camille might still live in Melbourne. I just put a call out, like, does anybody know any native French speakers? I'm looking for French accent. I didn't manage to get any other bites except for, like, I think Camille's housemate at the time was someone who I knew, or she put me in touch, and we only met for this interaction. The other option would have been like going through randoms on Star Now. You remember that?
Yeah.
I wonder if people still use that.
They do.
I used that for something else, but not for this, fortunately. I didn't love using Star Now. That was kind of funny. But yeah, Camille didn't have the French accent that I wanted. Camille didn't have the accent that I wanted. Yes, Tamara.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Rather not a question, but a comment. I really loved your film.
Thanks,
As I
Tamara.
said, critical theory is redundant. And it is redundant.
It is, yeah.
It's a force for a revolutionary change. But your own film is a very strong criticism of critical theory. All that kind of self-reflection, and then you have that counterpoint with that couple that crosses the street all the time. So I really loved your film. I just wanted to tell you that, and that I liked you as a 20-year-old, and I'm looking forward to what's going to come in the next years, now that you've crossed out of the, just
The self-reflective era, yeah, the mirror stage. I've gone beyond Lacan, thank God.
yourself and nothing outside of it. So, good work, Steve.
Thank you, Tamara, I appreciate it. Tamara's my substitute parent tonight. Yeah, what tangent were we going on?
Camille and Matthew.
Camille, yeah. Camille didn't have the French accent that I wanted. That's what. That was her main faculty. She did a great job though, and we recorded that in a really terrible room, the only room that I had access to that day. I really naively didn't know that there was an entire voice recording studio at VCA that I had access to. So I was doing everything off of Zoom recorders in echoey, empty concrete rooms. And obviously it comes through the sound, the audio is terrible in this whole thing. I would love to see the film without any audio, but then it wouldn't have the narration. And Matthew, we recorded his audio over the phone. So he has a bunch of audio equipment, but it would have been winter here and summer in Missouri, and he was speaking. It would have been nighttime, and then our afternoon and their night. And in the original 3-hour-long recording, it's a really nice document, that phone call, because it's me directing him and telling him what to do over the phone. And it was the first time we ever spoke on the phone after emailing for 5 years or something. So it was really really timid and awkward, but at the same time I was telling him what to do. So it was very bizarre. And there was a lot of comfort. There was a lot of thresholds were broken in that phone call probably. But yeah, the original audio for Matthew had so many crickets in the background, and his S's were and I was God damn it, Matthew! Got all this fancy vintage music recording gear. For what, But I think he sold everything since then. Yeah.
Moved on, different career.
Yeah, books now.
It seems like a film that perhaps is more complex than it looks in terms of layering of sound and image, but was there a storyboard, or was there kind of how did you marry the sound with the image? Was there a kind of a plan, or?
I'm not sure if there was preconceived orientation of the scenes, but the scenes were all there. I knew what I wanted to capture. There's only one scene that's an accident, and it's Desha, who's on the left-hand side there, and he's he's got this book that he's writing in, and that shot that was used in the trailer where he's just standing there and you can hear everyone murmuring and just chatting in the background. I think maybe either Leon and I must have set the camera on, and Desha was just standing there scribing in his notebook, and he's posing so much.
Yeah.
So I'm did he know?
Yeah.
But it's 1 minute, not even, 40 seconds. And there's this leg shifting that happens throughout it, and I'm surely that's not real. But we were all doing that. But that wasn't, like, I didn't tell him what to do in that situation. But I was like, damn, I wish the whole film was like that, you know. It basically is, yeah.
When I flash back to this era when you were making this film, I can only hear the words millennial malaise coming out of you.
Yeah, and we're not even millennials now.
Yeah, and I meant to ask you how you, nostalgically or retroactively, how you feel about the label millennial these days.
It's like a factual
inaccuracy.
Yeah, inaccuracy. Yeah, it's like a journalistic problem.
I wonder what's changed in the 6 years.
I don't know. 2018. Maybe being a Zoomer was pretty naff back then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the age is our year though, 1996. I don't know. That's But in the thesis, like in the exegesis, like all the writing, there was like this like subreddit that I refer to that's just like millennial people talking about like it's. I'm actually so glad I don't identify with this, but they're like, does anyone feel like they were really gifted when they were young, and then they just made it all go to shit? You know, like trying to like blame society for that. It's just being a lazy brat. I'm lucky my brother is in here. Because he's he's perfect millennial.
I've been mean to voice this to an audience, but I said it to you recently that I wish that intersectionality didn't have to exist. But I wonder if film actually like promotes intersectionality because of the way that it's structured, the director, the lens,
like as a genre,
the kind of the way that it the frame that it uses, like, because, and you speak about this, the director, the actor, the audience, and in a way maybe it just promotes hierarchies. Cinema.
Okay, intersectionality, like when it comes to genre, yes, it might establish a hierarchy, but that's not the point of it. The intention of it is to like create like whatever, some kind of like equity or like equilibrium between all these different threads of thought or something. But yeah, in this context, I mean, I don't think you could, specifically for the director, actor, audience, whatever, like reflexive conduit. I'm reading like a bit of like quite a few like ethnographic like essays at the moment that like, and I was also referring to them in some of the text in this. And no, it's Paul E. Wellis is one of the specific writers, and I think after going through like all the treasures of like how can we have like, because the point of ethnography is that it's like a lot more, it's like it has to be objective, it has to be detached, but then there's the dilemma of that lens, the detachment or the clinicality creates hierarchies or biases, or comes with biases, but then the opposition of that would have to be like, they've just called it auto-ethnography. So it's like, that's probably what this is maybe. It's like me walking around, being a subject, subjectivizing my own subject, and that's the proof. You know, it's just auto-fiction. But like, this auto-fiction is terrible. Yeah. And auto-ethnography, like you can't, how is that sustainable? Like, how is that reliable? That's how you get Kim Kardashian or whatever. Sorry, that was such a boomer moment. That was so archaic of me. That's how you get this whole fucking problem, you know? Like, can I trust your judgment on speaking on your behalf? No, because you have a distorted field. Your subjectivity is distorting your lens from the beginning. So it's no. I don't know what your question was, but no.
That's fine. I've just.
There is no such thing as an honest document. No.
Does it feel strange seeing kind of ghosts of perhaps former friendships or relationships, or is it just tinged with nostalgia, or is it fine?
Well, that's a good point to connect to the, you know, always taking photos of people.
Yeah.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't look back at photos as much as I used to. But definitely, you know, you kind of just desense it. You're just like, oh, face. You're like, oh, this person, and you just, you know, remember the good times instead of the bad, Digby. And it'll be all right.
Maybe we'll open up to the audience then. On that note.
Thank you, Digby.
No worries.
I don't think anyone has anything to say. That's a good thing.
I have something.
Thanks, Thomas.
I have two things.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this is true, but apparently in 1997, Derrida gave a lecture at VCA, and one of the teachers instructed his students to go dressed as Derrida.
Oh my God.
I don't know if it's
No one told me that.
Second,
That's nuts.
one of the...
Why did he come to Melbourne?
I think a crew paid him to come, like one of those journals.
Oh,
Yeah, for like a tour.
okay, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, one of these characters says, art students are the drama students of the 90s.
Facts.
Yeah. Are art students still art students? And also, what was meant by that line?
Art students are the drama students of the... Wait,
Isn't it the other way around?
other way around.
Other way around.
Drama students are the art students of the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so... I'm like, 2018. Maybe what was meant by that... Ben says that. Ben on the floor. Ben was one of the acting students. I scoped him out during Wednesday barbecue. And I was lying, and I'd seen him like twice, and you know that they're drama students because they all wear black. And I felt like really professional after I succeeded at getting his email. But yeah, it was, I mean, not that Leon, who he says it to, is an art student, that Leon's a film student, so that's different. But it would have been funny if Ben said that to an art student. I think drama students really used to be it. You know, they used to be at the forefront of, like, from whatever research I would have been doing at the time, which was predominantly just like watching didactic, institutional videos of drama classes via like Canopy or through the Melbourne Uni Library. So there's a really important one that I told Peter and Digby and Bill about in this YouTube video. It's a Peter Oyston class on the Stanislavski method, and it's from like, I think it's the DVD's released in 2004, but I think it's from like 98 or 97 or something. And just like something about the drama students, you know? Also, like, I don't know if it was necessarily art student. I think it was still like, I studied ceramics, or I studied painting, or I studied video. It wasn't kind of like lumped into this big thing. Or if we're specifically just thinking about like VCA's lineage, you know, that's when it was still a Victorian college and it hadn't been bought out by Melbourne Uni yet. And I think they were just maybe like someone who would study drama in the 90s. Again, this is all just based on vibe. It was like maybe someone who was like trying to be cool, and then art students were just, you know, mentally unwell. And now there's like, it's not that anymore. And I felt like I saw that shift happen maybe when I was in high school. Like the vision of art school when I was younger was way more messed up than what it was once I went there. I don't think I met anyone interesting at art school that I didn't already know. And I was really disappointed by that. That was 4 years. 4 years, zero networking. I hope that answers your question, Thomas. Thank you.
Charlie's got one. Jazz?
I actually thought that the French speaker was you for most of the movie. Oh, the whole movie, actually.
Yeah, a few people have said that before.
I may have...
If that was my French accent.
I may have missed the point, but why did you want to get a French speaker? Did I miss the point?
No, I mean, I don't know, like,
They sound cool.
why did I get, I think it's just a
Godard?
cinema thing.
Godard?
I think it's just the cinema canon thing. It must have just been that. I would have been consuming so much French media just by a proxy of like being like, I want to watch a movie. No, I think it had to be a French, and I don't know, maybe it's just that Trump and Macron line. That's my favorite part of the whole film, where it's just filming the black curtain, and there's that, and I didn't want to include that bit, and I think my supervisor, Lisa Radcliffe, was like, no, just include it, because it was so like deadpan or something, and I was like, well, I don't know what picture to align it with. And I was like, that was the only one, like just like a black slate was the only one that I could do. Because that was like the only like sincere moment in the whole film, pretty much. The rest of the film's like hyper aware of just, ridiculous or something. But yeah, maybe it's just that image, Trump and Macron holding hands, just that, to politicize it. But yeah, thank you, Camille, for being that substitute. That was probably the most work that I got someone who I didn't even know to do for free.
Jeez.
Yeah. Where is she now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could you talk about the Madison dance, maybe? The Matty Russo and you kind of jiggled to.
Yeah. I think, so the first few iterations of this film that I had done, because obviously I made it at art school, so like you had crits and it was like works in process, bits and bobs or whatever that I was showing to my class and to my teachers. And they were the only people who were giving me feedback. And it didn't help that no one ever said anything in crit. And after one class, like a painter, like a fucking abstract painter, minimalist abstract painter comes up to me and is like, wow, Carmen, I'm so excited to see where your work goes, because I had absolutely no idea about anything about video or film. And I was like, yeah, no shit. I was like, and it shows. No one in the class had anything to say. So I was like, yeah, in my really like in like a like physical like social sense, I was literally in my own echo chamber, institution academically. I was really lucky that my supervisor liked cinema, so I guess that's why they made her my supervisor. But what am I answering?
The Madison dance.
Madison dance, yeah. It's Godard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. That's cinema. I think, yeah.
Un, deux, trois.
Yeah, someone does say un, deux, trois, don't they?
Leon.
Yeah, Leon says that. I forgot about that scene completely. That scene's so funny. I think, yeah, one of my teachers said that I have a fear of like putting myself in front of the camera, which didn't make any sense because she had me through undergrad and all I did was like perform in front of the camera in undergrad. But maybe for this specific project, she was like, why isn't it your voice? Why isn't it da-da-da? So I think I put myself, it's just me trying to become the drama student. Or not the drama student, a musical theatre student. Because musical theatre is the ultimate genre. That's it. I forgot to add that, yeah. Cool. Musical theatre trumps everything else.
Any more questions?
Just with the what you were saying about videotaping. So you're at VCA, right? And you're obviously not in the film department.
No.
Did anyone in the film department, any teachers or students, were they aware of what you were doing with this video?
The film department, I mean, I had posters up like all around campus for like a year, being like, anyone help me, I need this. I'm doing my honors, I thought it was very important. There was like one PhD candidate from the film department that contacted me, and then I think misinterpreted what my call out was for, and then that went nowhere. Besides from that, it was kind of more of a technical feud that I had with the equipment loans department. Yeah. They
wouldn't,
I could tell that story.
No one in the film department, apart from a few of the teachers,
Well, because
would have understood what you were doing anyway.
Yeah, I guess I got put in touch with them. Mostly I was getting put in touch with the theatre department mostly because I was sitting in on classes.
Yeah.
And for me that was like my research. Regarding the film school, no. They just had the IDX batteries that I needed. And it was a big and the mics. They had the boom mics. Everything else, the camera was my own. I eventually got my own batteries. that was a very important moment. But yeah, I hadn't even paid the levy. But I knew the technician.
Sheena.
And so yeah, Sheena. I can't out her like that. Sheena's a good person. Basically she was lending me all this equipment throughout the first semester, so I thought I had access. Well, I was like, well, yeah, I'm making a movie. I'm at school, blah, blah, blah. And come second semester, and Sheena had left, and they had new technicians, and I go up there, and I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Carmen, just here to pick up batteries, blah, blah. And these IDX batteries are like $600 for a fucking battery. It's such a and they're ancient. And a Zoom 4 or something, which is so basic now that you think about it, and just a boom mic that was probably broken already. And the lady's like, oh, but you're from the art school, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from the art school. And then she's like, oh, you can't borrow that stuff. And then she hands me a Zoom 1 microphone, which is like Google Gaga style stuff. And I look at her and I'm like, I can't use this. And she says, make a silent film. And I was like, who are you? And I put that back and I was like, bye-bye. I left and I sent the most bureaucratic email I have ever sent in my entire life. And I had CC'd the head of every single... I was CCing people who you never even saw in the flesh. They're like the technician of the technician of the technician. And I got the authority because I complained so much. I got the authority to use the film equipment without paying a levy or anything for the rest of the year. And I got really good at emailing. But yeah, that's the film school for you, yeah. I don't know anything of it. I guess the voiceover studio was in there, and no one ever told me about that, so I'm sure now they have one in the library. It's a lot more accessible. But since then, they've gotten 12 quite good, handy cams for the visual arts school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, we had no access to camera equipment, which was really crazy.
I'm realising that time's running out, Carmen, so we might have to call it there. Could everyone give Carmen-Sibha Keiso a big round of applause, and thanks, guys.